Hey, guess what? COVID-19 drug makers pressured Twitter to censor activists pushing for a generic vaccine. You're kidding. Yeah, it turns out in mid-December 2020, Nina Morchhauser, let's call her Nina Munchauser, a lobbyist for Twitter in Europe, emailed colleagues with a dire warning. The drug maker BioNTech, along with the German government, had contacted her with news of an imminent campaign targeting the pharmaceutical companies developing the COVID-19 vaccine, she wrote. The authorities are warning about serious consequences of the action, i.e. posts and a flood of comments that may violate the terms of service, as well as the takeover of users' accounts are to be expected, wrote Munchauser. Especially the personal accounts of the management of the vaccine manufacturers are said to be targeted. Accordingly, fake accounts could also be set up. The campaign they were concerned about was the launch of an international push to force the drug industry to share the intellectual property and patents associated with coronavirus vaccine development. Making the patent available, in turn, would allow countries across the world to swiftly manufacture generic vaccines and other low-cost therapeutics to deal with the ongoing pandemic. Munchauser, while alerting several site integrity and safety teams at Twitter, forwarded an email from BioNTech spokesperson Jasmina Elatovic, who asked Twitter to hide activist tweets targeting her company's account over a period of 2 days. Munchauser flagged the corporate accounts of Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, AstraZeneca for her colleagues to monitor and shield from activists. Munchauser also asked colleagues to monitor the hashtags #PeoplesVaccine and #JoinCTAP, a reference to the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Technology Access Pool, a program promoted by developing countries to accelerate the development of vaccines through the equitable sharing of research and manufacturing capacity. She noted that the group Global Justice Now was spearheading the action with an online sign-up form. It is not clear to what extent Twitter took any action on BioNTech's request. In response to Munchauser's inquiry, several Twitter officials chimed in, debating what action could or could not be taken. Sue Fern Tao, a member of the company's safety team, noted that a quick scan of the activist campaign showed nothing that violated the company's terms of service and asked for more examples to get a better sense of the content that may violate our policies. But it shows the extent to which pharmaceutical giants engaged in a global lobbying blitz to ensure corporate dominance over the medical products that became central to combating the pandemic. Ultimately, the campaign to share COVID vaccine recipes around the world failed. Hey, how Bill Gates helped derail the creation of a people's vaccine. That's right. We've talked about this on the show before, but here it is again. BioNTech's Elatovic, in response to a request for comment, stressed that the firm takes its societal responsibility seriously and is investing in solutions to improve the health of people regardless of their income. Jesus Christ. They're eagerly anticipating the progress of grafting technology so we can implant extra arms, allowing for the triple CK this sort of corporate PR statement deserves. In November, the Bureau of Investigation Journalism published a lengthy report showing that pharmaceutical companies went to great lengths to stifle efforts to share pandemic-related patents and IP, including threats to the leadership of Belgium, Colombia, and Indonesia. Holy shit. The Intercept has also detailed the domestic lobbying push to block support for a special World Trade Organization waiver necessary for the rapid creation of generic pandemic medicine. Wow. These people are... And you don't think these... How could any conspiracy that you could think of that involves Big Pharma and the government, how could you ever dismiss any of them out of hand? If you could think of something nefarious, the government and Big Pharma are doing it. They won't, if they really believed in their vaccines and COVID virus and the pandemic and all that, why wouldn't you want to make that available to vaccinate everybody in the world so we could get rid of the pandemic? Or is it because you never believed it? And you knew this was a money grab. Is that what this is? I don't know. German media has similarly reported on the aggressive efforts by BioNTech to build support from the German government in opposing the waiver at the WTO. The largely successful assault against the creation of generic vaccines resulted in an unprecedented explosion in profit for a few select biopharmaceutical drug interests. Pfizer-BioNTech generated a staggering $37 billion in revenue from its share of mRNA vaccines in 2021 alone. I think that the total is $100 million so far, pretty sure, making it one of the most lucrative drug products in the world. Nick Dearden, director of Global Justice Now, noted that at the time of BioNTech's censorship request, much of the world was under various lockdown orders, making digital forms of protest all the more vital for influencing public policy. To try and stifle digital dissent during a pandemic when tweets and emails are some of the only forms of protest available to those locked in their homes is deeply sinister. The BioNTech request was not only the only channel through which vaccine makers sought to shape content moderation actions at Twitter. By the way, it's funny this is being reported in The Intercept because they were the biggest COVIDians in the world. That guy, Ken Klippenstein, used to come at me about ivermectin on Twitter. He was one of those guys calling it horse dewormer, repeating big pharma propaganda proudly on Twitter in public. That's that Ken Klippenstein guy. He's one of those paid for hacks over at The Intercept. That's why it's weird. The Intercept, Ryan Grimm also got COVID 100% wrong. He got the vaccines wrong. He got everything wrong. And that's why it's interesting that I think this is that Lee Fang guy. So he's the only guy who still has his head on straight over at The Intercept, kind of. Stronger, a campaign run by Public Good Projects, a public health nonprofit specializing in large-scale media monitoring programs, regularly communicated with Twitter on regulating content related to the pandemic. Wow. The firm worked closely with the San Francisco social media giant to help develop bots to censor vaccine misinformation and at times sent direct requests to Twitter with lists of accounts to censor and verify. Internal Twitter emails show regular correspondence between an account manager at Public Good Projects and various Twitter officials, including Todd O'Boyle, lobbyist with the company, who served as a point of contact with the Biden administration. The content moderation requests were sent throughout 21 and early 2022. The entire campaign, newly available tax documents and other disclosures show, was entirely funded by the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, a vaccine industry lobbying group. So when they say that it's a nonprofit, Public Goods Projects is a nonprofit, but it's being funded by somebody, and it's being funded by a vaccine lobbying group. Bio, which is financed by companies such as Moderna and Pfizer, provided Stronger with $1,275,000 in funding for the effort, which included tools for the public to flag content on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for moderation. Many of the tweets flagged by Stronger contained absolute falsehoods, including claims that vaccines contain microchips and were designed to intentionally kill people. But others hinged on a gray area of vaccine policy through which there is reasonable debate, such as requests to label or take down content critical of vaccine passports and governmental mandates to require vaccination. One tweet flagged by the bio-backed moderation effort read, "If a vaccinated person and an unvaccinated person have roughly the same capacity to carry, shed, and transmit the virus, particularly in its Delta form, what differences does implementing a vaccination passport actually make to spread the virus?" Ooh, that's a question I wasn't even allowed to ask on YouTube. So here, well, that's a good question because listen to what Bill Gates says to that question.
It'd be more valuable if you had an infection-blocking vaccine. I mean, the idea of checking if people are vaccinated, if you have breakthrough infections, what's the point?
Okay, I'll play it for you one more time. Should Bill Gates be censored too? Because listen to what he's saying.
It'd be more valuable if you had an infection-blocking vaccine. I mean, the idea of checking if people are vaccinated, if you have breakthrough infections, what's the point?
So what's the difference between what he's saying and what this person said? If a vaccinated person and unvaccinated, but that's censored. But Bill Gates, should he be censored? Many pharmaceutical lobby groups made exaggerated claims about the danger of sharing vaccine technology. Pharma, another drug industry lobby group, falsely claimed on Twitter that any effort to allow the creation of a generic COVID vaccine would result in placing all 4.4 million jobs supported by the entire American drug industry at risk. Jobs, baby. We can't give vaccines to poor people because of jobs. Because of jobs. In a December 2020 email thread further discussing how to monitor BioNTech and respond to the vaccine equity campaign engaging in spammy behavior, potentially in violation of the social media's company's policies, Holger Kirsting, a Twitter spokesperson in Germany, offered several links to tweets in potential violation of the policy. Two of the tweets were from an account owned by Terry Bra, a retired bricklayer in a small town outside of Liverpool. The messages called on the chief executives of Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca to share vaccine technology with poor countries. Reached for comment, Bra reacted with surprise that his messages were being monitored for possible fake content. "I'm actually 74 and still living," said Bra with a chuckle. "I was a bricklayer all my life, just like my dad. I'm no Che Guevara, but I've been an activist, a trade unionist, and a socialist. All I did was sign a tweet. I wish I could have done more, really." So there it is, ironically, in The Intercept, which we're for all that censorship. The Intercept is very pro-censorship. The Intercept censored Hunter Biden's laptop story, and they fired Greenwald over it. So that's why it's weird that this is appearing in The Intercept, because they're very, very pro-censorship and pro-government censorship, and they were COVIDians, and they lied about ivermectin, and they lied about all this stuff. So that's why it's weird that it's appearing in The Intercept. They must be backpedaling like motherfuckers. But there you go. So just like we thought, the liars were censoring the truth tellers. And I'm still waiting for my apology from everybody. Everybody, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles in January and February in Los Angeles. And then we're going to Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets and become a premium member while you're there.